Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I am your host, Josh, and of course, if I'm hosting, it means that Corey has something more important going on. But fear not, my co-pilot tonight is the one, the only, our Raidmaster and our community manager, NerdGeneralist.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I'm going in reverse order for those of you who might be listening to this, and a special hello to all the warlocks out there, and to A1 Johnny and my nemesis Ronnie. I hope both of you stepped on just one Lego today and then had an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for having me on.
It's rude, but I like it.
That's why it's just one Lego. It's just like a little rude.
Just like a 2x2?
I think at least a 3x2.
Okay, fair. I'll allow it. But man, it's been a very busy time since we had you on last. Of course, Corey and I have spent the last couple weeks going through the expansion, going through the story, talking about the season last week. We haven't had a whole lot of time to get to the Armory, which we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about some seasonal weapons, some expansion weapons that we like. We're not going to talk about every single one. That would be impossible. So we're just going to talk about a couple of favorites that we have, maybe some roles, if we've gotten roles we enjoy. But before we get into all that, I need to get your take on the raid. Dealer and I did a special episode after finishing our run last weekend. We recorded on Sunday afternoon, and then you cleared it pretty much right after that. Like an hour or two after we got on recording, you went on your run and got it cleared. I also raided on normal on Tuesday, and let me tell you, it's fucking night and day between contest and regular.
I was watching you guys run through it on contest along with other creators. Yes, it was night and day, but it was also significantly easier than previous years, which I think is the kind of the general consensus. But normal mode was interestingly easy. So I got my clear after contest mode had already subsided. I had to work on Friday and Saturday. I just had too many things going on to actually get in there, and went in with a group of folks who had already done them. So a lot of the mechanics were already kind of figured out and everything. But just general take. The design. What I'm going to say is it echoes what most people have already said. Design, sound, lore are all top notch. Those teams usually knock it out of the park, and they did again on this one.
Yep.
Difficulty, mechanics, I would put them pretty low. That's not to say it was not a fun raid. It just was not a challenging raid, and really, as a total package, not what I was hoping for. But then again, I'm not the only person who plays this game, so maybe it wasn't for me.
I kind of want to bring up, I'm glad that you talked about that, because Datto put out a video this week, his final Elitist Datto.
It was a spicy video.
His Elitist ones normally are. He said this may be the last one he ever does. I don't believe that for a minute, but I'm so sorry if you guys hear an engine revving in the background. My neighbors are really obnoxious.
Josh is working on a hot rod.
Oh my god, dude, they do this at like all times of the day and night. It's really annoying.
Do you moonlight as like a street racer? Do you have like a close, family of people that are quite speedy and angry?
I do not. I do live my life a quarter of a mile at a time because that's about how fast I can run. But yeah.
I would like to see you run a quarter of a mile. That's like, I don't even think I could run a quarter of a mile. I am very out of shape.
It's not just that I'm out of shape. It's my bad leg has been acting up again a lot lately. I'm actually probably gonna need to go get it checked out. But
you get you a scooter. You can,
dude. No joke.
Soup up the scooter.
I'm gonna get a little rascal the next time I go to Disneyland.
Oh damn!
Let me just preface this by saying I don't disagree with a lot of what Datto said. I actually found myself agreeing with a lot of it when I listened to it, even though he and I had like pretty drastically different takes in terms of enjoyment and fun. Once you take into consideration that he says that part of his tone is because he's disappointed in his own performance, I think it puts the video in a lot more perspective.
He was salty.
He was very open about that, like in all of his
Yeah,
critiques about it on social media, his raid
yeah.
guide, elitist Dado video. He was very open about it. They finished 150th. He said in the video was made aware of it. I think it was sometime last year, maybe like before Valid the Disciple came out, that he had never placed outside the top 100, and he was the only raider who had never placed outside the top 100 for every single Destiny raid, including
I
challenge mode.
I think, yeah, I read that. I heard him say that statistic too, and I thought that was pretty interesting. And I think what's kind of becoming a thing now, it's becoming very clear that there's a changing of the guard happening.
Yes.
That the old guard of sort of hardcore raiders who are at the top of the charts every time, they're starting to fade into obscurity. Just due to age or just lack of, interest in the game, or, just the whole way that we raid, especially during contest mode and day one, has changed significantly since,
Right.
I mean, really, even over the course of the last two raids. So
Yeah.
I think he was salty, but I think he's also starting to feel kind of that he's not to quote Lethal Weapon, I think he's too old for this shit.
Yeah, and I mean this isn't going to be like us deconstructing Dado's
No, we don't have to.
opinion,
Yeah.
but he kind of acknowledged that too, that he feels like there are other teams that are coming up. I mean, Harden the Paint got world's first. They are a team that has finished top 10 in the last several raids. Has just never quite made it over that hump. He had nothing but congrats for them. And I think one of the other important things that Dado says in this video is, I'm not trying to take your emblem away. If you finished this on contest, that is an achievement, no matter what. No matter how easy I may think it is, that is an achievement. What may be easy for me may not be easy for someone else. And he goes, the general sentiment online seems to be pretty split between everybody who thinks it needed to be harder are those of us who are typically in there on day one. Everyone who's like, nah, this was just right, or this was just the right amount of difficulty, either did not finish and got held up at planets, or they got their first ever contest clear. And he says, and that is okay. That is totally fine to feel. He goes, for me, as someone who has always done contest since the very beginning, this was underwhelming. And he goes, I had a feeling this was going to happen after Deepstone Crypt. We all remember Deepstone Crypt when that came out, and the huge deal that was made about 5,000 fire teams clearing in 24 hours. Even though I think the overwhelming majority of those came after we figured out that Lament was the play at Atrax.
Yeah.
So I mean, I remember you and I called it at about the 12-hour mark. At that point, we did not know Lament was the play yet. We remained unspoiled. We figured it out that evening, though, after we got off, and next morning we all logged in, got it, and then as soon as contest ended, went in and got our clear. There is no shame in that. There's absolutely no shame in doing your clears like that. You should feel proud if you went into contest and finished even a couple encounters. It is, in my opinion, and this is where I agree with him, contest is supposed to be the pinnacle challenge of the entire game. It is to a point, though, with the difficulty scaling in this game. This is why I want to talk about the raid, where the raid, which is supposed to be your pinnacle PvE experience, is easier to do than Legend Lost Sectors. That is the point that we are at. It is easier to stay alive in the raid than it is to stay alive in public events where there are Threshers.
Yeah.
It is easier. The raid on contest was easier than last week's Nightfall.
I spent, I would say the legendary campaign and the exotic mission were both more difficult than, and I ran the exotic mission last week a couple times.
Yeah.
With and without people. And it was significantly more difficult from an enemy standpoint, from not a mechanical standpoint, but like there was just more challenge in both of those things than the raid, which is like you said, supposed to be the pinnacle activity.
But I want to highlight a few things that I think Bungie did right here, besides the teams we already mentioned. I do think that they needed an intro raid, because Deepstone is easy for those of us who have cleared it 30 times, because we know all the optimal strats. We go and cheese with Parasite now. Beforehand, it was just, get Lament and run in there and do it. We're going to skip most of the actual mechanics in the Atrax encounter. Everything else you can kind of like just brute force your way through. I think that this and Deepstone work good as beginner raids, but I don't think that you should have a beginner raid when it's the penultimate original raid in your saga. The time to do a beginner raid was, I wouldn't even say Witchwing. I wouldn't even say Witch Queen. I think the time to do the beginner raids is honestly the reprised Destiny 1 raids. Because our mechanics and our problem solving has evolved so much from Destiny 1. We are playing a fundamentally completely different game than Destiny 1 at this point. With build crafting, with stasis, with Strand, with all the perks, all the armor mods. Like, even stuff that was in D1 is completely different now. And I think that honestly, Vault and Kingsfall probably should have been those easier. Maybe not Kingsfall, because that is a longer raid, quote unquote, with all the bosses you have.
Well, what they could have done, not to cut you off, but what they could have done is just ported the mechanics of those raids over as they were in Destiny 1,
which
without making the significant. They largely did, but they also made some mechanical changes to sort of bring the mechanics up to sort of what quote unquote Destiny 2 standards.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to do that. They could have left those three. Well, I say those three. It will eventually be 3 reprised raids as sort of the mechanics from D1, because those would have served as great entry points. You've got plates, you've got orbs, you've got getting different buffs in those things, which are all core components of every raid that we do, and then had the Destiny 2 raids be kind of the next step up in difficulty.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that take. It's just, I guess it's a little frustrating to see, like, and then I saw the other argument that I really hated that I saw, and to his credit, Dado was not making this argument. Most content creators I respect, like Fallout, were not making this argument, but there were a lot of people trying to say, well, the raid was completed in like 2 hours 45 minutes or something, I think was the final, or 2 hours 35 minutes. It was one of the two. Mm-hmm. And so therefore it cannot be a good raid. Wrath of the Machine is widely considered to be a top 3 Destiny experience of all time, and World's First was an hour 58.
Yeah, I don't think
that was in D1.
I don't think time to complete is any standard, because, like, again, the sort of the climate for teams and the team composition and how our tool set, everything is constantly increasing. Player skill is constantly increasing. Player understanding is constantly increasing. So we're always going to be getting better, and those times have just trended downward for a long time. So
I think
it's a dumb take.
I think VOW was probably more of an outlier, more of an outlier than we thought, because I don't remember how long VOW took for completion. I want to say VOW took like 6.5, maybe 7.5 hours last year to get World's First.
I don't even know if it was that long.
I feel like it was that long. I feel it was definitely a more significant time than this. That's for sure, because it was pretty. I saw, most reactions I saw was that was an adequate experience. That they want World's First to be an experience that takes between 6 and 8 hours. If it goes longer than that, fantastic. But I think that, and this is kind of what Dado was waxing poetic about, it was, in a lot of ways, it was kind of a goodbye to the raid races of Last Wish and Garden and even like Crown of Sorrow. Because you look at how many teams completed those. I read these stats off when I did this at Dealer. 2 teams, we all know the story about Last Wish and 2402. We're not going to go into that, but 2 teams in the first 24 hours. Crown of Sorrow had 104 teams, I think. Garden had 94. Or 96, excuse me, in 24 hours. And I understand the yearning for that to come back and like, oh, it's some elite thing. And I understand that. I get that. I think we are now seeing raiders like Dado who have been around for all of the raids, kind of start to go through what PvP mains started going through probably a little over a year ago, when they started to realize PvP, the way that I want it, is never going to work out in this game, specifically with the Trials rework. That was when we first started seeing a lot of those complaints, right? Mm-hmm. That made Trials more accessible and things like, we see nothing but complaints about comp. And to be fair, comp needs to be completely reworked again. But it is never going to be a truly competitive experience like, say, Halo was with HCS, like Counter-Strike was, like Apex has, competitive modes. Even Fortnite has comp. Like, this will never be a game that has something like that, because it is a fundamentally completely different game. And I think that they're starting to understand, Bungie knows they will cater to the largest common denominator that there is. Because if 70% of people want contest mode to be easier, and that gets the engagement numbers up, that's probably going to happen. People are already in there farming. Like, they're they're probably going to do that because these raids cost so fucking much money to make. They take so much time to make. Even something simple like this takes months and months of time to make.
Yeah, I mean, I've been an MMO veteran
Yes.
for the majority of my gaming career, so I have a very firm understanding that pretty much every MMO follows the same trajectory, and they are very expensive, very time consuming to make. So it doesn't make sense economically, or from a long term perspective for them to be able to continue developing the game
No.
to make everything for, 2% of the gaming population.
If that. If that.
Yeah, it would be a lot, even less than that. So I would kind of have that meme, the Franco meme, like first time, when I see all these people freaking out once they're kind of understanding this and realizing it. Yeah, they can't make the game for such a small group of people.
I mean, World of Warcraft went through this probably about 5-6 years ago. Is when I would say it started going through this process. And
that game went through it. People would say that game went through it at the first expansion. I mean, I played it back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
As things progressively,
I knew people who played
more
up through Mists of Pangaea. That's kind of where everything kind of like fell apart for the group I knew that played WoW, but they played consistently for about a decade there, and they used to do raid nights and this and now, like, oh yeah, we're gonna do raids, we're gonna do WoW raids, and like Luke Smith has talked at length about like he did that so much that he wanted to put an experience like that in Destiny. And I think regardless what you think about the difficulty, the fact that Destiny has raids and it is the only console game that has ever nailed that is an achievement in and of itself. Look how many games have tried, like Avengers tried to replicate it, The Division has tried to replicate it.
I mean, I would go as far to say that Destiny does it best. I mean, again, I've played all of these. At all. I've played all of these MMOs, and there is not a present, like the world first raid race is such a big thing, like on Twitch, across the internet. You don't see that for things like Final Fantasy 14. And those games all with World of Warcraft, those games release new raids every single year, and you don't see that outside of their own community. So you don't have tailgate shows for raid day in those games, at least not that I know of. They could be. Don't at me.
Yeah,
MMO fans.
Yeah, if you're a big MMO fan, let us know what day one is like in other raids today, like what it's like now. I have friends who they put aside everything because they're huge Final Fantasy 14 fans. They put everything aside, but even they have acknowledged like the Destiny raids is a completely different conversation. Like that dominates Twitter for the gaming Twitter for the day. It dominates Reddit, Twitch. That's why I was kind of shocked it took so long for Twitch to do an official partnership with it.
So we've established that it's a big deal,
yes,
and that contest mode is a big deal. So what do you think went wrong? Like we know what went wrong. It wasn't as difficult. The mechanics weren't as fleshed out. Give me your hot take. What do you think caused this?
I think enemy scaling is the main thing for me. I never once felt like I was having problems surviving, except at Nezarec, and that was because of all the shit happening around me. And even then, once we got down to a pattern, I didn't feel threatened by anything except for his one-shot purple attack. That was the only thing that any of us ever really felt any sort of like urgency about. Like, yeah, we would go down in second encounter during, boarding action 2023, but I never felt scared during the first encounter. Even though there were a shitload of ads, nothing felt hard. Like, yeah, you'd have the occasional barrier champ, you'd have a tormentor. We were melting those things so fast, though, even on contest, and it's a complete joke in normal. It is a complete joke in normal to fight those things. They die very quickly with LMGs. My hottest take would be you needed to take probably about 50% of the enemies that were in there and make them orange and yellow bars. If you were because I think the enemy density was good, they just died so quickly. On the other hand, I think Scions were so ridiculously overtuned. One shot, you were dead. That was it. You couldn't take a body shot even from those guys. You were done. I would have buffed the health and, like, I don't know, thrown in a shit ton of shield. There were almost no shields on anything. There were the little Cabal shields that they throw up, like, almost nothing And I'm not like advocating for match game or something, but shields are harder to break if you don't have the right elements on. Put like a whole mixture in there or something. Make it a smorgasbord. This is world's first. This is contest. Like, contest needs to be the most challenging content you can come up with while still remaining fair. And I think that's a way you do it. You scale your enemies properly. You scale the shields and the health properly. The fact that Nezarec has conservatively maybe 12 million health is insane. That is 3 million less than Atheon. That's less than Rolk. That's less than I don't think it's less than Templar. That's less than the War Priest. That's 8 million less than the War Priest.
I find it hilarious that they made such a stink about how Divinity was like needed to go, and Divinity did not need to be a strat anymore. And they were going to start, designing encounters around Divinity, and they nerfed Divinity. And what did we use? What is the number one strat for Nezarec right now? Thunderlord and Divinity.
Which, I mean, I think that's also a little silly because I've seen enough runs now where I don't think that Thunderlord's the number one strat if you have a coordinated team. I mean, you one phase them with rockets. It's absolute with rockets
until you get that blueberry that strafes in front of you and ends up,
Fox
killing through.
Shout out to T-Fox.
The shade. There's so much shade going out towards Fox right now.
Shout out to Fox, because we had to actually stop one of our damage phases, and Dealer was like, for the love of God, Fox, stand still, please. For the three of us blew ourselves up on him during damage. I definitely blew myself up on Nadiki at least once. He shot the well multiple times. It just, you have to, and that's when we finally figured out, like, back left flower, we were angled just right to where nobody was hitting each other. We could stand in the back and shoot over one another. It was great. It was like, if you're in the front, crouch down and shoot. If you're in the back, jump. So it was fine. Like, and it's funny, like, for all my complaints about how easy the mechanic is, because the mechanic is easy, I've seen so many, not complaints, but so much commentary from, like, average. I would not say that we are, like, amazing raiders by any stretch of the imagination, but I would say we are above average in that we do a couple dozen raids a year, probably. And that's a lot more than most people who do a raid will do, like, one or two of a run of a raid, and that's it. They're not going to go back in there and farm it out for the exotic, farm it out for the patterns now, things like that. Like, in the last year alone, I think I probably did like 30, 35 raids. And that's not a lot compared to, like, top players. But that's well above the average. I would say the mechanic was easy, but I saw a lot of groups saying, man, we were real. Once they gave us two of them to do, and we had to shoot ourselves on those janky-ass man cannons, we were kind of struggling. And I get that. I understand that. So, like, I do think it comes back to that, like, I would have liked to have seen a better challenge. I joked about it when we finished that, and it's going to be kind of one of my last thoughts on this. So I want to wrap this up. If I am completing on contest mode, it was probably too easy.
Damn.
That is not.
You just bodied yourself.
I'm bodying myself, but it's true. Like, I consider myself to be, and I consider the team I was with to be an above average team. I consider us to be a good endgame level team, but we were strolling through that. Dealer was clocking us, and he said, even with us fucking around in a jumping puzzle, when World's First was completed, we were at planets. We were walking into planets when World's First was completed.
That is true.
2.5 hours.
I sent a message telling you that it had been completed.
You did.
Not you. Told Dealer.
No, you did. And John was messaging me and everything else. We figured out planets fairly quickly. We just second guessed ourselves and then proceeded to do the wrong thing for 4 hours because we were convinced the wrong way was the right way. Outside of that, like, that was the only encounter we really had to think about. Like, Nezarec, it was always just about speed. It was how can we get faster? And then we were like, wait a second. We have a Warlock and a Titan. What if we Icarus Dash and Shoulder Charge? And that ended up being the secret sauce for us to skip that first stun phase. And you had to have them doing it. I tried it. I could not consistently run it. I could, if it fell exactly the right way, I could do it. And that's like, that's fine. Like, you know, it's contest. You pull out all the stops. The last thought I will give here is something that I emphasized. I've said it now in 3 straight raid reviews, if not 4. Contest mode needs to be permanently selectable. That would give you a chance, I think, to go back and say, okay, contest wasn't hard. Let's run some data points and see what do we need to beef up here so that we're getting the best data possible for next year's race. Because I'm telling you right now, Wrath is not going to be hard. Wrath is going to have just as many completions. I promise you, if not more. I
don't understand why they can't just do it. Like, it's not a hard thing. Like, you just add a node that bumps the power to the appropriate place, and that's it.
If I can put on my spin foil hat for just a second, I would suspect that the hesitance for that, because they've acknowledged the request for it in the past, was likely because they did not want some of the community. There are some people, not the Dados and the Fallouts of the world, but streamers and content creators. I'm not going to put on blast. I'm not going to name any. We're not going to sling any names.
Come on, put them on blast. Let's do it.
Nope, we're not slinging.
Let's start a fight.
If you've been around the community long enough, you know exactly who it is. Who would likely complain about? Oh well, they got it. They got the contest emblem, and it was after the 24 hours. The solution is fine. Have one for that 24-hour contest, and then have the permanent contest emblem available. Have some sort of special reward. My solution was, at that point, you have a special difficulty during the 24 hours, and if you clear that, like, that's when you give them their ultra mega hard, like, Garden of Salvation level difficulty, because they'll never do Last Wish difficulty again. Garden of Salvation level difficulty in terms of enemies and mechanics and things like that, and then boom, if you complete it in that 24 hours, you get the exotic, guaranteed.
So there's two parts to contest mode that I like. I think people kind of often like separate, but they really should be together. Yes, contest mode is inherently harder because the powers are capped, but there's also the difficulty of not knowing what the hell you're doing and not knowing what to expect, not knowing all of the spawn points and all of the strategies. So I do think that there should remain an emblem for people that complete a raid within the first 24 hours, because oftentimes those people don't have access to that information. They haven't watched the "What is up, guys? Rick Cack is here" guide. They're still trying to figure it out and working through on their own. But I also think that contest mode should be available. You should make it part of the seal for the triumph to complete, or as a triumph
to solution. I agree.
To get the seal. You don't have to get, even at that point, once you add it in there after the fact, you don't have to give anything else for it. It just becomes part of the challenge of mastering the raid.
I would say that, and I think that it should carry. I think we've seen it with the dungeons in the past, and we see it now with this seal. There are certain triumphs that will give you extra progress towards the exotic. I think completing it on either contest. So if you complete it that first 24 hours, you should be guaranteed. If they make it balls hard like they have in the past. They used to do that. That's when Dado thought he got world's first in Crown of Sorrow, because they all got Terabus. It was until they got back to orbit and they found out. And if you make it balls hard to where only like 200 teams are getting through, great. Fantastic. Contest being selectable for the rest of us, though, I think should carry on that triumph. And, we don't need to do any other special emblems or anything, but have it that says significantly increases chance of getting exotic on subsequent runs. Gives you like a 10% boost or something.
Yep.
I think that's honestly what you need to do. That would incentivize so many more teams to go try it in a post 24-hour world. But are there any final thoughts on like difficulty scaling or anything like that? We do have a lot to get to tonight. We've spent a half an hour on this now. I didn't intend to.
At the risk of upsetting you by keeping this conversation going, we can pass. We can go on.
Give me your last thought then. Give me your last thought.
I don't know. Just I want to see improvement. I want to see, especially from the raid, I want to see things be more difficult, but reasonable, and make sure that the rewards match the challenge. That's it.
I genuinely think that Vow of the Disciple needs to be the baseline for challenges on day one. It's
such a good raid.
It's something that, kept its challenge after contest. It genuinely was difficult. 6,000 teams cleared, I think, in 48 hours. 6,000 teams got through. I don't think that is unreasonable at all. I think that is what we should be. I think anybody can agree. Okay, in 24 or in 48 hours, that's what got through. we can accept that. We can accept it with how the player base has scaled. I think that that's acceptable. Anyways, moving on. We have not gotten a chance to really talk about weapons yet this season. We've been so busy talking about raids, talking about stories, talking about seasons. There's a lot of really good weapons that got added with this game. There's some great things in the world loot pool. There's a couple Neomunin weapons. Some of the seasonal weapons are starting to work their way into my arsenal a bit. And of course, there's the raid weapons. Dealer and I very briefly talked about the raid weapons, but we couldn't really talk about those because neither of us got weapons out of contest until the last chest. We each got one weapon out of the raid. I think, if I remember correctly, his was, I think he got the side.
He got the trace.
He got the trace when we ran it on normal.
Okay.
When we ran it on normal at reset, he got a good trace out of it. No, Joasis got like all weapons, I think.
You lucky bastard.
Yeah. So we didn't really get a chance to, I think he got the sidearm, but hadn't really gotten a chance to try it yet. If you could give me like 3 or 4 of your favorite weapons so far from either the expansion, the season, the raid, whatever, that you have personally gotten, what would they, non-exotics, by the way, non-exotics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to go we'll talk about exotics in just seconds. Corey and I kind of went over all the exotics, but I know you're itching to talk about that stasis bow.
Damn it! Yeah, that's right where I was gonna go with it. Okay,
so,
all right. Legendaries.
You can lead off.
No. I'll stay in the legendary pool for now. Okay. The first one I want to talk about is the Strand LMG. So LMGs are I feel like they're in a really good place.
They're in an awesome place.
Especially in the raid, I was not expecting LMGs to kind of dominate.
Retrofit escapade, man. Holy shit.
I was not expecting LMGs to dominate to the level that they did in the raid, and they certainly did. I'm enjoying the Strand LMG a lot.
Okay,
I have a couple rules. One with your feeding frenzy, target lock. What's it called? What is it called?
Yeah, it's target lock. It's target lock.
Target lock. Okay, and then I also have a rule with hatchling.
Okay,
which plays really nicely with the warlock kits.
For sure.
Let's see. I'm looking at the list of them right now here, so I don't kind of forget. Let me pull up, Tim. Why don't you tell me one of yours while I'm looking? Pulling up
I'm going to pull something here out of the pool from the public event as well. I am going to say synchronic roulette, which is the SMG, the Strand SMG that you can get from the event. I really love this. It's a 600 RPM, so it's very similar in archetype to Shayura's. I got this with Hatchling and Envious Assassin, and I really, really like that role on pretty much.
I've heard Envious Assassin is good, but I haven't tried it on a primary. I mean, what's your mag look like on that?
Crazy high. I've had it on auto rifles, and I've been walking around with like 120 rounds. It's absolutely nuts. It's filthy. It's absolutely filthy. So I really like that. Although I will say I cast it aside once I did the raid. I was running it a little bit, and then I swapped it out because the raid auto rifle. I'm going to cheat and do 2 here. The raid auto rifle. This thing might be my favorite primary out of a raid in years.
I'm quite jealous. I don't have a roll of it yet.
This is Rufus's Fury. It's a 720 Strand auto rifle. So if you remember 720s, guys, we talked about these. This is your crates, your chroma rushes. I think Misfit might be one. I don't remember off the top of my head. But these are those ones. They're your rapid fire ones. I got a couple rolls of this. I got one with I got Tap the Trigger and not Focused Fury. Not Dynamic Sway either. I don't know. I got one with Tap the Trigger that I haven't really used. The 2 I've been playing with were Thresh Target Lock, which was okay. And then Thresh Hatchling. And let me tell you something. Those green bastards are flying all over the place anytime I use this gun.
Just flubber everywhere.
We are a Robin Williams cameo away from this being Flubber the gun, and it is fucking phenomenal. This thing, it destroys in PvP, it wrecks in PvE, it wrecked in Gambit. I fucking love this thing. This is listen. You guys know how much I love my messenger, how much I love a good pulse. I have not picked up my messenger since getting this gun.
Oh, it's sad. Your messenger is probably missing you.
My messenger has been sitting in the vault since God. I didn't have the courage to put it in the vault, but I have not touched it at all this expansion. I ran Disparity as my primary for most of my Lightfall related content until I got the Strand SMG, which was really good, and then this thing. It's a monster. This is a do it all gun, and it's craftable. On top of that, it's craftable. I've got 3 patterns already for it. I am absolutely stoked for this gun. To be able to craft it, get the enhanced perks on it. I think the design of the raid guns is so unique.
Which one? I think it's the trace rifle that looks like the Lego dragon head.
Yeah.
Did you see the comparison?
I did see the comparison. These guns look like they belong in fucking Bionicles, by the way.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
I have not personally gotten the trace, but I've seen 2 absolutely filthy rolls. One of them was rewind rounds incandescent.
Nice, you said it. You said it right. Nice job.
And then the other one I saw was reconstruction target lock.
Reconstruction is just having its resurgence. Like it's having its day.
It's always
right now.
It's a raid perk, right? And we haven't really seen it since Deepstone. We were like, oh my god! I remember the first time that I actually got a succession out of that very first Deepstone run, and I was like, holy shit, what's this perk? I still use that succession to this day. That was my day 1 special ammo weapon that I took in.
I'm really sad that Warmind cells are gone because the 7th Seraph carbine can drop with reconstruction now out of the whirlpool, and it would have been really fun to have in the Warmind cell days.
That man, I'm so glad that perk is back. God, I cannot say. You can criticize the raid all you want. The loot in here is so fucking good. Everything, with the exception of maybe the grenade launcher, is great.
All I got from the raid were sidearms.
I'm extremely excited for this sidearm that looks like a ball sack. I'm very excited for it. Have you seen the shit hanging off the bottom of that?
I gotta look at it now. I have it, but I only inspected the perks. I didn't actually even pay any attention to the actual.
Take a look at this. For all you listening at home, Mikhail's Reverence is what you want to look at. This thing,
ball sack sidearm.
It's a fucking ball sack sidearm. They took the model of Forerunner and put balls on it. Basically, it's truck nuts on a sidearm.
Well, being from Texas, you sure know what truck nuts look like.
Dude, I get cut off by somebody having truck nuts at least once a day. At least. It gets worse when I drive to Kansas. In Oklahoma, every 20 miles.
Yeah, it's a giant ball sack with spikes. A spiky ball sack.
Spiky ball sack. I've seen enough people that I trust talk about this sidearm. Because I really love a good sidearm in PvP. And man, hearing one of the guys I still like that I still enjoy talking about Crucible, True Vanguard, talk about this sidearm, he said in his opinion, this is pound for pound the best rapid fire sidearm for PvP that is in the game today.
So while we're on the subject of the raid weapons, I wanted to talk about something.
Hit me.
So one of the things I felt like Destiny has always been missing, especially as kind of like an RPG and an MMO kind of meshed into the shooter genre, we've been missing set bonuses, right?
Yes.
And the addition of the harmonic resonance origin trait, which origin traits are just fantastic. I'm so happy that those are added to the game. But the harmonic resonance one specifically, for those of you who don't know what it does, equipping multiple weapons from this set grants this weapon increased reload speed and handling, also deals increased damage to a variety of hard enemies, tormentors, Lucent Hive, blah, blah, blah. So for there might be other ones that I'm forgetting, but this is one of the first times or one of the few times that we get something in game that benefits from having other items from the set equipped at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's something that I love about games like Diablo, Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, are the sets, so that you can kind of like piece things together to like get other bonuses aside from the individual pieces of gear themselves. So having other cool weapons, you know, all in your inventory or in your loadout together are going to give you more of a boost. It's going to increase the sort of potency of these weapons. We need more of that. What do you think?
I would absolutely agree. I mean, with having loadouts in game now, and with the completely reworked mod system and the emphasis on build crafting that they're doing through every single facet of the game has gone full RPG. It's gone full MMORPG. It took us several years to get here, but this was their intention back from Armor 2.0. You know, they've been slowly working towards this ever since Forsaken, and we took a big step. We took a big step forward with Beyond Light, and we took another big step last year. This has been the biggest so far, and this is the bones for whatever's going to come next. This is the bones of what will become Destiny 3. And I think having set bonuses really encourages you to use them, especially in a mode like PvP, because I don't really use my heavy, but why wouldn't I just equip the linear fusion or the heavy grenade launcher just to get that extra bonus? So let me tell you something. That fucking auto rifle absolutely chewed through a Loreley Titan last night. I couldn't finish the kill, but I got maybe a quarter of my mag in, and he was already shields broken and was depleting health just from me unloading on him while he was in his super. It was great. Now I imagine that with something like the sidearm or even the shotgun. There is some really spicy shit you can do here. That makes me really, really, really excited. I want more set bonuses. And I think that raids are the way to do it. I don't think every single thing needs to have a set bonus, but I think something like this for raid weapons is a really smart idea. And I
think all of your pinnacle activities need to have additional perks on both the armor and the weapons, stuff like this.
They definitely were going this way with the extra origin traits on the Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit weapons. Right, and with your Trials weapons, you had unique perks that were available to those, but also the Foundry perks were still on there that you could choose.
Right.
It's part of why I still, even if the gun is underwhelming, I still really like getting the Pursuit weapon every season, because you can choose from any one of those three, from the Vanguard, the Crucible, or the Gambit perk, and you don't have to be in set activity to benefit from it either, which is so nice. I really enjoy that aspect of build crafting, because I think that has to go into it. I would even say, like, in this raid, I found myself using the raid armor for the first time in a very long time, because the armor mods were literally saving Dealer and I. We were running perks where anytime that he picked up a buff, a light or a dark buff, I would get increased damage to Cabal enemies for 20 seconds. And that was the difference between life and death with some of those Colossus.
They unlocked all of the armor mods right out of the gate for you, right?
No, there are still ones that you get out of the chests, out of the secret chests.
Okay, so I wasn't clear on that, but I did notice, because I got one piece of gear from the raid, one piece of armor, and I noticed when I went in to check, I had a bunch of available armor mods for the raid right out of the gate.
They give you most of them right out of the gate.
Okay.
But it was really nice, and then he had one that anytime that he lost a buff, he started regenerating health. So anytime that he would like shoot the orb and then run back to go get it again, he would be regenning health.
And Dealer needs health, let me tell you.
So yeah, he was running that a little bit. I was definitely running it more than him. He eventually just put on the Cabal damage too, because they didn't have to have the armor on, but if anyone was dealing damage to Cabal, or picking up buffs, you were doing extra damage. So that helped sometimes with, we're running to go do damage, or we're running to go create a safe zone. He can help deal some damage there with me. Like me and him guys like stack back to back Army of Two style.
You guys were running Cabals to the wall, so to speak.
Pretty much.
All right. Let me give you one more weapon.
Hit me with another weapon.
I am really enjoying, since I didn't play any GMs last season, I did not get an opportunity to get one of those spicy Wendigo rolls. So having the seasonal grenade launcher, Regnant?
Yes.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but Twitter will tell me. Having being able to craft the exact same role, actually, spike grenades, either auto loading, you can opt for Envious Assassin if that's your thing, and explosive light. The thing I like about this one specifically is it is void, so it pairs really awesome with the volatile rounds. So not only is it a boss damage grenade launcher, but you can also add clear with it, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I have yet to get a good roll on that. I was doing the glitch where I was pulling a bunch of them, but after I no joke, I pulled almost 100 of them and did not get the right perk combination. I got 2 of the 3. I gave up. I will just wait to hopefully craft this one day if red borders ever decide to drop for me in seasonal activities again.
I may have been doing the sneaky little Galran cheese and got a bunch of Defiant Engrams, and I managed to get the 3 remaining red bars out of those, out of pulling some regnants from the Defiant Engrams. So I kind of cheesed my way into one.
I will say I am happy that the red border focusing is up so early in the season.
Yes.
So like if you're even getting like half decent amounts of drops, like I have yet to see a red border fusion at all. I'm convinced it doesn't exist.
I miss the everyday red borders though. I miss the everyday red borders.
I miss them too.
I didn't feel like it was too much. Like, I don't know.
I don't think it's too much if you're somebody who grinds out and plays every day. I think that that's fine. I understand time gating it this early in the year, though, but I think like once the season is actually over, you should just be allowed to focus whenever you want to. Like next season, during Season of the Deep, I should be able to focus Defiant weapons whenever I want to. We need to talk about the red border drops from fucking Nimbus, though, because holy shit, those are bad.
What red border drops from Nimbus?
Exactly. I'm convinced they don't exist. I'm convinced they don't fucking exist.
I tried to talk to Nimbus as little as possible. I hit level 30 and then I said, bye-bye, Nimbus, you nippleless freak.
I mean,
I ran away from him as fast as I could.
I did. I'll save this for later, but I did find a worse NPC today.
I know who it is.
Yeah, you know exactly who it is. The other weapon that I'd like to bring, one of the other weapons I'd like to bring up at least. Of course, you guys know we can't get out of here without me bringing up a new pulse that I like. It's a world drop. I cannot believe I'm bringing up a world drop before some of these other weapons. Battle Scar. This weapon, this pulse fucks.
Bygones 2.0.
It is Bygones' bastard child. It's back. It's a better Bygones. It's a 450. It's a 450 kinetic pulse, and it can roll with that new kinetic damage perk, which I'm very excited about. John, of course, got the roll that I want naturally. He got it with, I believe, that and perpetual motion. I am running this with Encore, Eye of the Storm, and with the origin trait that's on the world drops. This thing is dirty. All 3 of those perks affect stability, reload, and handling. This thing fires like a straight laser. It's this or it's that Strand auto rifle that I'm running in that first slot, unless I need a sniper for whatever reason. It is one of those 3 things. That is what I'm running. This has a permanent place in my arsenal. So much so that I'm not even really using the new playlist pulse rifle, which is a 540 Autumn Wind. I finally got a good roll on that. Kind of like it. Like my Battle Scar better, though.
You're a pulse fiend.
I am, in fact, a pulse fiend. Have you gotten a trust yet?
When you go down, when you die, someone's going to say, take his pulse, and you're going to wake up and say, no, don't take my Battle Scar.
No, I'm going to say, don't you dare delete my, oh my God, I just blanked
Blast
out
Furnace.
My Blast Furnace. Don't you dare. Don't you fucking dare.
Josh and I have mourned many a time over Blast Furnace.
Listen,
the loss of our Blast Furnaces.
If I get to final shape without Forge weapons coming back, first off, I'll be
pull
shocked.
it out.
I'll absolutely be shocked.
Final shots on the Witness will
Yep.
be done by Blast Furnace.
Yep, I'm gonna have a loadout set up, and I'm gonna hot swap when he goes into his final damage phase because I'm gonna shoot him to death with Blast Furnace. That's how much I love this gun.
And that's the reason why your fire team will wipe, because
Probably.
your power level will be
Probably.
awful.
Many apologies to everyone doing contests with me this time next year. Do you have another weapon for me?
Can I talk about the bow? I really want to talk about the bow.
We can talk about the bow, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of running out of weapons to talk about here.
Yeah. If you, I'm an Aegir's fan, but I cast it aside and said goodbye, boy, for the new Stasis exotic bow, Vergless Curve. It's amazing. It's grenades in a bow. It does everything you want it to do with all of the stasis mods. It hits like a freaking sniper on enemies when they're frozen. It's amazing. I love it. And I just wanted everyone to hear it because I've trashed so many bows in my time playing this game. I was not a Tiku's fan. Don't get mad at me for that, A1 Johnny, but I was not a Tiku's fan.
Same. Big same.
And I love the stasis bow. And that's where I'll leave it right there.
Stasis bow is great. I need to use it a bit more. I've only used it a little bit. I'm not a big bow fan. We've established that on this show. I do not like bows a whole lot. But I've seen some of the wacky shit you can do with this bow, and I really would like to get better with it.
The reason why I like it is with the new mods, stasis ability regeneration kind of took a little bit of a dive because the stasis shards don't sort of charge you up as much as they used to. So with this, you can shoot the crystals that it creates, and then you can get grenade energy from that, which kind of gives that little bit of ability regeneration that especially Warlocks lost to give Osmiomancy gloves that they're kind of like full potency back.
Yeah. If I could leave off with a final weapon here, it's one that I need to definitely play with a little bit more. But I enjoyed the Thoughtless Sniper Rifle so much last year that Bungie was like, here you go, we're going to give you another Stasis Sniper Rifle that's really good. It's the Irakudaji. I don't know how to pronounce that. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it is a Stasis Sniper Rifle. It's a 140. Particularly the roll that was being sold at Banshee the morning of the raid race was really good.
Banshee gave everybody a god roll that morning. Yeah,
he was like, "Hey, I know what shit y'all are gonna fight in that final room. Take something that can one shot his shoulders." Yeah, it was like what was it, 4th times an opening shot or something.
It's firing line 4th
That's
time.
what it was.
Appended mag and expended barrel. Tactical mag, Hammerforge. I'm looking at it right now.
That thing is a fucking monster.
It is.
It's an absolute monster. And it's in the world loot pool on top of that. Be checking Banshee. He has sold some really good weapons over the last couple weeks. To start off, that's, in fact, Battlescar. He had a good roll on Battlescar. He's had a good roll on that, on the Sniper. He's had a god roll, Judgment of Kelgarath. The Glaive from last season. There's some really good shit, but this, I will say overall as a commentary for a major release, has been kind of disappointing in terms of weapons. I think there's the best weapons on Neomuna, hands down, come from the public event or from the rotating event. Hands down.
Agree.
That's where you get the LMG. That's where you get the shotgun from, and one of the shotguns. And that's where you get the SMG. So 2 of our 3 weapons are two of the weapons that we brought up drop from that. I personally like the shotgun, but I totally understand if you don't enjoy the shotgun. It is a 140. I like it. I've heard of some people liking Round Robin, the 120 Strand hand cannon. I did not like Volta Bracket when I used it, the sniper. Iterative Loop, haven't gotten a chance to really play around with it. Philocatic Spiral is fine as a pulse. It's a 340, so it's about the same as Messenger.
Can roll Volt Shot, though.
It can roll Volt Shot. I do have a couple Volt Shot rolls. I did use it in the partition the first week. I like it. It just reloads like slower than molasses.
Yeah, it's a high impact. Yeah, it's
super
slow.
Dimensional Hyptharcoid, which is the heavy stasis waveframe grenade launcher.
Ooh, don't sleep on Royal Executioner though. the fusion rifle from the seasonal set. It can roll with reservoir burst on it.
Yeah, I was gonna work my way down to that.
Oh, I didn't know you were working all the way down. Okay.
No, I'm just like kind of like trying to highlight just how like disappointing I think that the overall weapon additions are. I think the season is pretty disappointing as well.
Kind of surprised we didn't get a new like rocket launcher.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it. We have a lot of good ones, and at a certain point, it's like, how much better could a rocket launcher really be? But like, with like, rockets are just such a core like thing in Destiny. I'm just surprised we didn't get one.
I'm shocked at how many grenade launchers we got overall.
I'm surprised with how many glaives we got overall. Somebody on the glaive team was like, "Hey,
glaives!
I did a lot of work. I did a lot of work after hours. Here it all is. Put these in the game." And they're like, "All right,
I'm completely okay with it. I will love them and cherish every single last one of them." The Strand auto rifle is something else I want to highlight a little bit here. It's fine. I think that if you get the raid auto rifle, it outclasses it in almost every single respect. It was very hard for me to go back to that 600 RPM one.
It's vanilla. It's very vanilla.
600 RPM auto rifles, I think, are in kind of a weird place too, because I've tried using them in the past, like recently, and they just seem like they don't hit very hard at all.
Well, I mean, that was the gnawing hunger
right
fire rate, which got basically just nerfed into oblivion.
Yeah, and
because
they never brought it back up, and I think they
dominated for so long.
They probably need to explore doing that, especially if some of the rumors we're hearing about next season are accurate. That with it being season of deep, we may be getting some of the old Gambit Prime weapons back, Gambit Prime and Reckoning weapons reprised. If that happens, I think you would need new roles on Gnawing Hunger, because that is, I mean,
can I get Breakneck back, please?
I also would like. I mean, it would not be unprecedented. I mean, Wendigo and Buzzard have both come back, and
I want Breakneck back, and give it to me exactly as it was. Don't give me stupid perks on it that aren't the special perk that it had. Just give it to me. I want it.
I would like that, and I would like exit strategy back if we're bringing back old Gambit weapons. I loved exit strategy. But yeah,
do we have to play Gambit to get them though? Because
yes.
I don't want to do that.
Yes.
I don't want to do that.
I think this is overall. This is kind of a far cry from last year's drop, where we saw the World Loot Pool fixed or revamped, and there were some pretty good weapons in there. Synchronician is one that I think of a lot. The Stasis Pulse.
So I feel like, not to change the subject, and I'll keep it short, but I feel like last year I felt the exact same way about the weapons that I did this year. It's that the weapons that came out with the expansion and Witch Queen, like the ones that you could get from Wellspring and all that stuff, that they were pretty weak too. And it wasn't until a season or two in that I feel like the weapon pool really was feeling really, really good.
So I won't disagree with you necessarily. I do think that they were in kind of a rough place when you first started out. But those weapons got really good, like a season. And I mean, the fusion was great from day one that you could get out of the Throne World. I think the sidearm, Empirical Evidence, was always good. Was that the sidearm or was that the SMG? I think both of those had their merits. Father's Sins was a Wellspring weapon. The Void Sniper, that thing was awesome once you could craft it. But I think that's part of the problem is like, and they learned their lesson to not make all those weapons craftable again. Because let me tell you how many fucking rolls I've gotten of this LMG, of the shotgun, and of the SMG. I would
let me get
that event fun enough to run that I don't mind doing it. Whereas Wellspring, we all know my long documented hatred of the Wellspring, especially Master Wellspring. This was clearly supposed to be a 6-person activity. And then they went, at some point in production, probably pretty close to shipping, they went, nope. Because in the original Lightfall product page on Bungie.net, it said 6-player arena mode. Mm-hmm. And they very quietly got rid of that part on their site. And thank God, because anybody can be driving through and hit one of these and do it. The Vex Strike Force stuff is awesome. Like,
I still have not encountered a single one of those yet.
Get good.
Wow. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go into your I'm going to hack Bungie, and I'm going to change all of your drops to Tarnation. Fuck you.
What in tarnation?
Every single one.
What in tarnation? Um, let's move out of weapons a little bit. So we do have a TWAB to get to tonight. There's not a whole lot in there, but still, gonna talk about a few things real fast before we shift on over to talk about partitions just a tiny bit, and then lore corner and get out of here. There's some stuff. There's videos that come out this week. One about the raid, obviously the design of the raid, and then one about the art of Lightfall. Shows a lot of the concept art. I think both of those were pretty cool watches. I really enjoyed both of them. Some updates to Commendations and Guardian. Let's talk about Commendations for a second and Guardian Ranks. This stuff fucking sucks. I'm gonna call it how it is. This is one of the. I think the idea behind it was good, but this fucking sucks. This failed in every single sense of the word in terms of execution.
Yeah. I can't think of one single redeeming thing about it.
Also, tying it to Pinnacles trivializes it even more.
Everything about it is trivial. Like, yeah. I could care less what somebody is, commendation wise or Guardian Light wise, because I see people who are level 7, which is probably the highest rank that you can really get right now, and who don't know how to do basic mechanics in strikes, regular strikes. So it doesn't reflect somebody's level of experience with the game, and neither do commendations.
Which is what it was supposed to do. And I think this is really bad. I suspect that this might see an overhaul by the time that Fireteam Finder is in the game with the last season of this year, but I'm not holding my breath. This is something that I wish I could honestly disable in my game so that I stopped seeing this fucking pop up. Let me just go to orbit. Don't make me go through another screen. Half the time I can't award anyways because things haven't loaded in, and you only have 10 seconds at the end of a Gambit match or a Crucible match. I have enjoyed figuring out how to troll the opposing teams, though. That has been a lot of fun. If you go to full results, you can commend people on the other team. So I've definitely given playmakers.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
I've given playmakers to guys who have gotten 0.14 in comp.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm fucking toxic. Oh, excuse me. I gave one of them joyful. That's what I did. I gave one of them joyful. They brought great joy to me because I got my title out of it.
Yeah, I'm really worried what Fireteam Finder is going to look like if this is kind of like the social features that they've been working on. Hopefully those are two different teams, because it's clear that the people who design these two systems just are not in touch with the what makes a good fire team and how we want to socialize.
I can't believe I'm going to say this. This is too positive of a tool. I need to be able to mark if somebody is completely useless and unhelpful.
We need to set up.
I mean, and I'm not trying to sound. I really, truly, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. This goes back to what you were saying. There are people who are level 7 or 8 who struggle with basic strike mechanics.
All right, so Tower Casuals, we're going to make a site called not Commendations, it's Demerits, and you can just
Destiny
Demerits. You can just give other players that you pull. I mean, we could make this work, Josh. We can pull all of the information from the API of who you played with and the activities that you've done, and you can go and just shit on the people who deserve to be shit on right there on our site.
Let's make this work.
And it sends them a message in the Destiny 2 app saying, "You fucking suck. Get good."
Oh my god. The thing is, I completely understand why there is nothing negative, because there would be people like me who would be like, "You fucking suck" all the time. My girlfriend was sitting there watching me do the new arms dealer strike, 2 or 3 days after the game came out, and I was just fuming the whole time because these people had clearly no resilience turned on, and they were dying so fast. As soon as they spawned, they would die to the turrets. They weren't grabbing revives or anything.
Listen,
very much did not enjoy that even in the Vanguard rotation. I'm dreading it as a Nightfall.
Mars Battleground GM week. There's going to be some death threats thrown around this community. It's coming. Everybody better be ready, because we are going to reach a level of toxicity we have never seen before.
We've definitely gotten there before last summer. It's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. Yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of shit slung. If you thought it was bad the week after Lightfall, oh boy, it's going to get real bad.
I feel like we have the the gardener and the winnower and the traveler and the witness. We need both, the Bungie White Knights, and we need the negative Nancy shit talkers that just like shit on everything Bungie does. We need both of those people. It creates balance.
that all changed when the fanboys attacked. I've been watching some Avatar: The Last Airbender lately. Yeah, the system is terrible. It's bad. It grosses me out as watching the Dallas Mavericks attempt to play something called basketball right now. It's all bad. It's all bad in Josh's sports life. The Avalon mission, we talked about this briefly last week. Sounds like it's evolving each week. I haven't gotten a chance to go play this week's yet, but there are 3 different versions of the mission that you have to do for the seal this season, as well as, I don't know if you have to beat that on Legend, but I know yes, you do actually. You have to beat this on Legend. So have fun, everyone. And then you also have to beat the 3 new battlegrounds on Legend as well, which, if you have not done this week's, really cool mission. I really enjoyed this week's battle. I've liked all 3 of these battlegrounds. This week's was really unique as well. And you got a nice little cutscene about Amanda Holliday's past afterwards.
Yeah, it was.
I'm going to be honest. Nice. I need to go watch it again.
It was. I like that they're adding more depth to her character. I still think I really hope. I don't know anything about the voice actress or actor that does it. The person who does the voice of Amanda Holliday. I really hope that's not their actual voice, because it sounds like a trope, kind of like a.
It's not their actual voice. The voice actress who does Amanda Holliday actually voices Keitel as well.
That's right. We've talked about this before, and I forgot. Yes. I don't like Amanda Holliday's voice, but I did love the cutscene. I thought it was very good.
I need to go back and watch again. I was very distracted. I was setting stuff up for us to go do a raid at that point. So I need to go back and rewatch this again. Maybe I'll do that tonight. I want to be able to talk about that a little bit more in depth when Corey gets back next week. It really feels like all the death flags are up now. She's got a special cutscene and everything. She's got a lore book. Like, yeah, shit's about to go down.
Do you think when she dies, Crow's just gonna go full John Wick?
No. Crow's been to therapy.
I want to see him just go full John Wick.
Crow's been to therapy. I think he'll be okay. If anything, that could be what causes him to reconcile with Mara.
Oh, interesting.
And he's clearly becoming buddies with Devrim. So I'm really enjoying Devrim this season. Calling Mithrax Mr. Mithrax is great.
Yeah, you get to see a little more personality from Mithrax this season, hanging out with Amanda, drinking some whatever they were drinking. And
it's fucking moonshine, man. You're not going to convince me otherwise.
That's true. I mean, what other options do they have? They're literally at the farm.
The only alcohol that survived the collapse is just a case of Kentucky moonshine that she has.
Listen, that shit is just rocket fuel, so it serves dual purpose, right?
How bad do you think it would be after like 1,300 years, give or take?
I bet it would still be delicious.
Like, dude, how potent, how strong is that for an elixir? Dude, do we need to have a breakdown of what Mithrax's blood alcohol levels would look like after a shot of moonshine?
He's got extra appendages. I mean, maybe he's carrying more blood. He might be able to drink a lot more than what we are.
Petra's going to show up and make all 3 of them walk in a straight line.
She'd probably drink them all under the table.
She probably would. She'd probably beat their asses afterwards. Yeah. I really, really enjoy this. I think that the seasonal storyline's been fun. And in stark contrast to the tone in Lightfall. The Saint awaits. Trials is back, baby. Dealer got 20 whole minutes of Iron Banner in before they remembered they weren't supposed to let it go out this week, and they yanked it down. He said he got his powerfuls done for the week.
And the PvP team just cannot catch a break.
They really can't. I am really happy about this change. So, as a note, Fireteam matchmaking is enabled in Trials, and as such, the freelance node has been removed. We've been analyzing 3v3 data in competitive division this season without freelance in place, and we're confident Fireteam matchmaking provides a solid experience. More details soon. I will say, I actually enjoyed my comp matches that I played already. I did feel like they were balanced. I was not going up against 3 stacks. It was often 2v2 and 1v1, or it was just all solos, and that made it even more fun for me. So Trials is back. There's 2 brand new rewards. You have a 750 RPM Strand submachine gun called the Immortal. I love how they say rolls with some crazy perks like rangefinder and killing wind.
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen that on 1.5 million fucking guns.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for those perks.
I am excited for this gun, but I found it hilarious that those are the perks they chose to highlight here. And then Astral Horizon is back, an old favorite of Trials, with slide shot, surplus, and opening shot are still there, but shot swap and elemental capacitor are also on the menu.
Oh, elemental capacitor, very excited.
I'd rather have that than fucking shot swap, let me tell you.
The thing I worry about with them getting rid of the freelance node is that they've also added the armor back in this season from previous seasons. And so there is going to be a lot of folks going into the Trials pool, and I'm worried about the experience they're going to have, especially, I mean, myself. I would like to get this SMG, and I would like to get some of the old armor.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's no longer a freelance node, we'll see. I mean, I'll remain optimistic about it.
I would encourage you to keep an open mind because, like I said, I actually don't think...
Don't tell me how to live my life, Josh.
Well, fine. Fuck you, too.
I will be pessimistic.
Don't forget that Trials has been changed to work the same way as the other tower vendors. Instead of carrying your engrams with you, they stay with Saint until you decode them. Apart from currently featured ones, there's the option to focus weapons and armor sets that are no longer in rotation for a certain number of engrams and resources. Trials engrams from previous seasons cannot be used in this new system and must be decrypted at Rahul. Thanks, I noticed.
Can we just do away with Rahul, please?
I had 7 engrams ready to go, and then I remembered as I loaded in that I could not do anything with these, that I had to go to Rahul because you can't turn in shit at Saint. So I did get weapons I did not have. I did finally get the LMG and I got the hand cannon from last season, but I was very upset. I saved 7 specifically to get the chest piece that I have been missing for years.
No soup for you.
I will 100% be spending all 7 of my first engrams to get that chest piece for transmog. For transmogging purposes. Iron Banner is back next week. Really happy about the change here. So we already know about the rep changes, and I think that went over overwhelmingly well for the last Iron Banner in Season 19. Let's talk about this, though. The Iron Banner modes we've launched over the last 3 seasons, Rift, Eruption, and Fortress, have performed well, and while we have more ideas for variations on existing standard modes, we're taking a breath before introducing more Iron Banner modes. We'll share more information on these game modes in a future blog, but in the meantime, we're running 3 different modes, 1 each week. The first Iron Banner of the season will be Iron Banner Control. Week 6 will be Eruption, and Week 9 will be Fortress. Thank fucking God there is no Iron Banner Rift on the menu. We will not see the player population just completely disappear. All 3 of these, I think, I think they are all well received at this point. Yeah. I personally liked Fortress a lot, despite the bubbles of it all. It is still insanely fun to go in there with a team that can pop the bubbles and then just run them. That's where I started running a glaive in there. Just having a blast. If you're playing with friends, Iron Banner is still a ton of fun. I liked Eruption a lot when it was up. Iron Banner Control, obviously we all like Control. This was the best way to do it, with no new mode this season.
Yep.
And you got 2 returning weapons. Yoram's Claw, which is the Iron Banner Pulse, and Bite of the Fox, which is the sniper rifle. Again, not super jazzed about either of these, but nope. I will be playing purely for fun. I really enjoy all 3 of these modes of Iron Banner. I will be in there each and every week playing these. All right,
some pinnacles. Give me the pinnacles.
Yeah, I need some pennies. And just I genuinely have just had a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing if there is a shader on the second page that I'm going to have to kill myself to get again. Um, I've really appreciated this, that they are dropping old rewards now in these playlist modes, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm finally getting shaders that I've been missing since Forsaken. Like, I got a Crucible shader that I was missing from Black Armory to drop the other day, and it felt great. In a match that I lost, it still dropped.
I don't know how
I've
you
got
guys keep track of all this stuff that you don't have. Like, I don't even look at my
It's
collections all that
fantastic.
much.
Oh, I look at my collections because I specifically have wanted this shader for about 4 years now.
Hmm.
It's been bothering me every single season. I take time to bitch and moan about this. It's finally fucking here. I finally got Devil in the Details. It's great. Before we go on to Lore Corner, because this is going to help tie in a little bit, have you been doing these partition missions?
I have. There's only been 2, right? Yeah.
There's been
So,
three. There's been 3.
Then I missed one.
There
I
was
think.
there was one the week that Lightfall came out. There was one last week, and there was one this week.
Then I might have missed one.
So the first
Yes,
one,
I've done several. Yes.
so when you load in the first one is a time trial that you're doing, and you have to like ride your Sparrow through the Vex network and like kill champs, and like anything you kill, it keeps your timer going. Then you have a boss at the end, and oh, he's setting bombs. You gotta defuse bombs. So you gotta race off to the bombs each damage phase.
I missed that one. I think that's what I missed.
Okay, so that was week 1, and that was when I loaded in extremely under level. I was like 20 under what you were supposed to be. Loaded in, did it solo, and came out saying, "What the fuck was that?" And then last week's was you storming a Vex Citadel, which I actually thought was kind of cool. And I really thought this week was going to bring it all together. It did not. It gave me the most annoying character in the entire game.
Hey, it's me, Sam.
Samuel Witwicky, are you Ladies Man 217? That's where this was going, okay? I need Joe here to do his voice.
Throw the cube into my chest.
Samuel Witwicky, put the cube into my chest.
Throw it at me. Throw this glimmer, this
Oh my
giant
god!
glimmer
I
square at
was
me.
like, oh my god! The whole time I was playing that, I just really wanted to be capturing the footage and have Joe commentate on it as Optimus Prime for me.
We didn't have time to model an actual character, so we did a giant red ball.
Oh my god! Okay, so it gets worse though. Anytime you get close to him, you get launched into the fucking air. The top 10 most infuriating things.
I didn't understand if I was supposed to. So when I first loaded into the mission, I was like, oh, okay, this thing is going to keep pushing me forward and I have to stay in front of it, because if I don't stay in front of it, it's going to like kill me. So like for the first 2 rooms of that mission, I'm like desperately trying to like kill everything as quickly as possible, because I thought I was going to get pushed, like killed if it touched me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh god, here it comes. And then I just get booped up to the ceiling. I'm like, oh, well, that was dumb.
I was absolutely infuriated by room number 3, and tossing the cubes straight at the orb, only for it to go straight through him and not count, or to get launched into the abyss, was just...
Yeah, I had one go into the abyss, but then it just like magically counted.
It did not magically count for me. One of them respawned 6 different times for me. At this point, I'm absolutely swearing up a storm. My cat has slunk off to another room of the apartment because I'm screaming so much. I do not know how I did not wake Chelsea up during this, but I was absolutely infuriated. And this is on top of I couldn't pick it up for the first 2 days this week because there was a glitch not letting you pick it up.
I did not have that glitch. I did hear about it though.
I was absolutely just beside myself. I'm like, oh my god, I'm fucking done. I'm so annoyed right now. I don't want to do this. And well, I finally finished it. Thank God. And it just like abruptly ends. It just ends. I was like, what was the point of these partition missions then?
Hey man, yeah, I'll call you next time I need to upload a virus.
I will say this, like at least the Empire hunts, the Nightmare hunts, Savathun's two truths, 2 lies bullshit, all told stories. What does this fucking do? This again feels like something that, hey, this was probably supposed to be like baked in between like campaign missions, and then they're like, well, we got to put Strand in there, and if we put these in there too, like we did the old Empire hunts, they might actually like march on Bungie HQ, so we better not do it. We'll give it to them as a pinnacle every week.
There's nothing about the after I'm not going to argue about the actual campaign itself because you guys have talked about that at length,
Yes.
but there's nothing about these after campaign missions that have fit the supposed theme of this is an action movie, this is an 80s action movie, like everything is gut balls to the wall, you're leading a charge. No, I literally talked to a news broadcaster like 3 times. I'm talking to the administrative.
You put some respect on Jisoo Calorando and Quinn Legary, okay? You put some fucking respect on their
I'm
name.
talking to the fucking office administrator of
You're talking to Pam Peasley, okay?
The office administrator of the Puka Pond, and it's not. I'm expecting like John Wick, like Lethal Weapon style, like action, and I'm freaking running like go fetch quests for a giant red orb. This isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, I will not disagree with you there. I do think that some of the quests have hit better than others. I actually really enjoyed learning a lot about the Cloud Striders through the quests in the Hall of Heroes. But I do agree, they ultimately boil down to fetch quests, even if, and this is something that Bife had in his critique, like, even though the story is lacking, the lore is still so good. You have to do a little bit of reading, but it's still so good. Like, the implications are there. I talked about it last week. I love the LMG quest. I absolutely adore the mission you go on at the end where you go back to the Black Garden. Absolutely adore
I agree. That was that mission, and the series of missions leading up to that were probably the best. And honestly, some of the better narrative out of this entire thing.
I made the argument that I think that it should be considered as part of the narrative, because when we talked about this last week, but you look at the epilogue quests that we've gotten from most of the expansions in Destiny 2. You got Ace of Spades in Forsaken, which was really a goodbye to Cade. It was Cade's final messages to everyone he thought might kill him. There was the Xenophage mission, series of missions in Shadowkeep, where Shadowkeep's a super underwhelming expansion, but the stuff all around Eris's trauma and her fire team was done incredibly well, especially Xenophage. Like, you literally have Omar Aga and plug him into a machine gun and use him to massacre the Hive. It's great.
I loved the Parasite quest.
The Parasite quest is what I was getting to next. Like, they did. Parasite was amazing.
Fantastic.
And it served to set up a lot of the shit that Mara is doing now. And has continued to do. This quest, when I did it, I came out of it saying, wow, I actually kind of care about Nimbus now. I actually care a little bit about Nimbus and Rohan's relationship. I understand now why Nimbus reacted kind of the way that he did in that final scene when you unlock the Hall of Heroes. I kind of understand it now. Going back to the Black Garden was awesome. It did begin to answer a couple questions about the Veil. Clearly, that is like the kickoff point for these quests that they're going to have that will be done throughout the year. I like that. That is one thing I think Destiny has continued to do well, is the epilogue quests. For a lot of these, I mean, even Lament. I mean, look at the Lament quest. I think that did a lot for us understanding about Banshee and Clovis Bray. You know, but those are all quests that I would say, even though they are, quote, separate and they are exotic quests that take place as epilogues, I consider those to be part of those narratives.
But you have to give people enough up front that they stay long enough to play these amazing.
And I'm not disagreeing. I'm not going to get into, you know, the campaign. We've spent
I'm not
enough.
trying to.
Yeah, I know you're not. We spent enough weeks griping about campaign and, you know, what we would have changed. I literally, in our review, I sat here and was like, here is my pitch for how I would fix the campaign in 5 minutes.
Right.
But I think that this is, if we're going to do the critiques and the criticisms, we also have to acknowledge what was done really well. And I think
agree.
That particular quest and what it means, especially for veterans of Destiny, vanilla Destiny 1, who remember the real dark times, was just a really special moment for me.
Back in my day, we had nothing to do but public events.
Do you remember going to websites to find out when public events were going to spawn? I do.
I played enough of Destiny 1 that I did do that plenty of times.
I vividly remember it, unfortunately. Let's shift gears just a little bit. We're done with the TWAP. We're done talking about bad missions. We do have some community questions that I want to get to before we do. We're going to switch it up. We're going to talk about community questions before we go into the lore corner. We have a couple this week, not a ton, but we have a couple. If I can get the thread pulled up here. All right. Jiggly Panda 2 asks, since the raid has been completed, what are y'all's final opinions on Lightfall, and how would you rank it compared to other Destiny DLCs? I think you've gotten our full opinions on Lightfall at this point over the last 3 weeks between me, Corey, and Nerd. Dealer obviously gave a lot of his opinions on our raid recap. Where would you slot this in at if we were to rank the major Destiny DLCs? So leave out the little ones like Dark Below and Curse of Osiris, Warmind, all that. If you were to rank it amongst the major releases, where would it be?
For me, it's a battle for the bottom between Shadowkeep and this. I'll lead. I won't definitively put it there because obviously we still have a lot of time left and there's a whole year of content available. But just based on the story itself, the campaign, not necessarily even talking about the raid and all that stuff, I'd put it battling for last place. I would put it below Beyond Light as well.
I would say if you were taking the entire package as it exists today into account, where would it rank? Would it go up any higher? Including the raid, the quality of life changes, things like that. Would it go up any higher?
I would probably put it above Shadowkeep, but only it is a very small, thin margin so far.
All right,
but I remain optimistic.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you. If I had to start at the bottom, Shadowkeep's absolutely in the gutter. Shadowkeep is the most pathetic release that this game's ever had. There is very little redeeming quality there. And it did not get much better over the course of the year either, until Arrivals. It's telling that Arrivals and Dawn are what kind of saves that expansion for me, and I don't think Seasons should save an expansion.
Correct.
I would go Shadowkeep at the bottom. I would go Destiny 1, Vanilla Destiny 1.
Oh, I didn't know we were talking about Destiny 1 stuff
any major release. Any major release.
Oh, okay. Well then, okay.
Yeah, I would put Destiny 1. I would go... I'd probably go Destiny 2, Vanilla Destiny 2. I would go Beyond Light. And then I would probably... It would be between Lightfall and Rise of Iron for me. We all know my documented hatred of Rise of Iron. It would be between this and Rise of Iron. I think it's a very middle-of-the-road DLC. The quality of life changes definitely do a lot of the heavy lifting here. But as I've made it clear, I really enjoy the raid. I enjoy the big events on the Amuna. I think the lost sectors are awesome. I like the changes they've done to the strikes. The new strike is awesome. Like everything outside of the campaign is actually really, really good. It's just the campaign drags it down in such a way that like I'm not even like mad about it. It's just like it's more of like a disappointed parent almost. It's like I know you're better than this. I know you're better than
another 6 months, and it could have been incredibly stellar.
And so, yeah, let's. Yeah. I mean, and then of course, like I don't need to go into what the top DLCs are. You've heard us say it a million times. It's Witch Queen, Forsaken, and Taken King. The end. Put those in whatever order you want. You're right. No matter what your order is, you're right. I would say that is something. You know, you, me, and Joe were talking about this yesterday morning. That this feels like the factor of a couple of things. This expansion probably should have been delayed because it very much feels like you got about 60% of a campaign. Like everything up to Callus probably should have been about the first like half, maybe 2/3 of the final shape, or what will now be the final shape. But it became very clear that they had way too many storylines they needed to wrap up in between. Because they're clearly trying to like finish up the side character quests and things like that, which if we had started seasons like this sooner, we wouldn't be having this problem now. But instead, we've gone through 2 years of pretty goddamn solid, almost 3 years now since Arrivals, of really good seasonal storytelling. And we know there was a narrative shakeup. We know that the person who was in charge of seasons got moved to take over main narrative. But by then, I mean, the game is in full production. It's already written. They were already doing VA work by that point. So she's really taking over final shape. And then I think there was also the pressure on them after the Sony purchase to say, hey, we need to return on our investment now. You can't delay. And I don't think they wanted to now that they have... They spoke about it in the Vidoc leading up to Witch Queen about how badly they wanted an early in the year release date to keep it easy for fans to keep track of when a year starts and ends. I think they internally had the conversation and said, we cannot have a third year with a 6-month season. We cannot do that again.
No, I don't think the community could could weather it either.
After this year, I think the community will absolutely be more receptive to it next year. 100%. Because I think what you do is I think you acknowledge that seasons, I mean, maybe you even start with the summer season. You decide, okay, we're going to pad these out to give us maybe 3 or 4 extra months, which would give us an extra probably like 5 weeks on average of each of these seasons. That would extend you into April sometime next year. If you really think you need that extra 6 months, though, guys, come up with, a fun in-between season. You've already told us that last season before Final Shape is supposed to mainly be a quality of life season. Give us another, I don't know, like $15 30th anniversary style season, but for the 10th anniversary of Destiny. I don't know what you have to do there.
Sparrow Racing.
Give us Sparrow Racing. Give us a whole bunch of Destiny 1 shit. Give us Sparrow Racing League. Bring back Crota's End as a raid or a dungeon as an in-between thing. Like, there's so much stuff you can do, and I realize you have to have the manpower to do that. But there is plenty of stuff you can do, and then release Final Shape on the 10th anniversary of the original game in September. You're going to need that lead time to work on whatever's coming next anyways, and I think this would take a lot of the pressure off the team. Part of what made Witch Queen so successful, I think, especially after seeing how hot Lightfall came in, is they had that extra 6 months, and they knew about that a year in advance. They told us in the weeks after Beyond Light, when we got or not weeks after, the season right after Beyond Light, the day season that The Chosen came out, I remember you, me, and Joe were all in a chat together reading the state of the game from Joe Blackburn, and we were shocked that they preemptively said, hey, we've had delays the last 2 years. We want to give our team more than enough time. We're bumping Witch Queen to next February. Right off the bat, we're not even going to attempt to make a September release or a November release. And we applauded that. We were like, good. And the result was the most polished release that Bungie has put out since Halo 3.
Agree. Yeah.
You have to do that for Final Shape.
They can't mess it up.
No.
I think for a lot of us, kind of whether or not we continue with this game after whatever the Light and Dark saga ends is going to heavily depend upon how this saga ends. And if it ends kind of in the similar way that Lightfall has gone, I probably will not be continuing.
So I won't even go.
It's not a threat, but
I'm not even going to go down that road. I would say that I think for a lot of us, especially those of us who are older, and you're several years older than me, several, whatever. But like people like you and Joe and Corey and Johnny, who are a few years older than me, even. I think that Final Shape is kind of going to be the jumping off point for a lot of people. It's okay. I've spent 10 years playing this. I mean, Corey and I have talked about that. We talked about this on episode 100. When we started playing Destiny, we were at completely different points in our lives. He hadn't met his wife yet. I was getting my legs fixed. Like, I had just had major ankle surgery and was laid up in bed. I was 22 when Destiny 1 came out. I was in college changing my major for a third time at that point. Like, my life has changed exponentially since then. And largely for the better. But, a lot of us have, there have been people who have been married and divorced in that time who did not have kids and now have like 3 or 4. There's a lot of growing that we've all done. I mean, you were what, like mid late 20s when Destiny 1 came out?
I didn't even have kids yet. And now I have 5 children.
Yeah, now you're almost fielding a flag football team.
Yeah.
I'm
trying.
You have a basketball team.
I have a fire team now. I have a raid team.
You really do.
Whether or not I take this raid team into Destiny after Final Shape will determine how Final Shape is. That's standard, Bungie. That's it. Flag in the ground. Let's see.
Yeah, and I think Bungie kind of knows it's the stake, but I would also say that at the same time, I think they know that a lot of longtime players will walk away regardless of how good it is, just because it's such a time sink. MMO games are a time sink, and the older you get, you have to budget your time a lot different. You have kids, you have relationships, you're married, or you have a partner and things like that. Like, you have careers. I say this to Joe all the time when we talk, but it's so hard to decide how to spend my free time when it comes to media these days.
Mm-hmm.
That if something has to go, the ongoing game is going to be the thing that goes eventually. And as much as I love this universe, it may get to a point where I'm just keeping up with it through like Buy for Mylan videos, honestly.
As you say that, but as we sit here, depriving ourselves of social interaction of other media to sit here and talk about a game.
It's true. I say
we literally spend all day playing anyway.
I say that as I host a fucking podcast. All right, we're moving on to our next question. Tiger Jesus 64. Do you think the commendation score will not matter in a year or two, since we will all naturally have high scores? Yeah, we've covered this. They don't matter now. They won't matter 2 years from now.
No, it's trash.
Ronnie asks, how would you look at Strand? For example, arc, in and out quickly, so speed. Void, survivability, solar, DPS and big booms, stasis, ad clear. I would say Strand is probably the mobility class. I think it's such a unique movement set that I actually would almost say it also needs to be classified as ad clear. Because the suspension of enemies is a thing unlike anything we've seen in this game, even extending at the Strand or stasis. Excuse me.
It's crowd control to me. I think both stasis and Strand, from a kind of RPG mechanics kind of classification, they're both crowd control classes. Strand is a little bit different. But I would say Strand is better at crowd control in a lot of cases than Stasis is. The way that it just completely bullies champions is really amazing. So I would say crowd control.
Yeah. Nitro TJ writes in with another question. Or, excuse me, this is his first question. He has 2 questions tonight. Are you okay with them putting half the story in the seasons and half in the main DLC? Yes. I'm gonna say yes, but I want to give a really long-winded answer here because it's not that simple. When it is stuff like they've already clarified for the quest they're going to release during Season of the Deep, I am okay with that. I am not okay with stuff that needed to be in a DLC being in seasons. The seasonal stories should and largely have done this since we got to Arrivals. They've kind of followed a pattern of the first season or 2 is pretty relevant to the DLC or to threads that are laid out in the DLC. And then everything else, even starting in that season, is building to your next big expansion. It's like this big crescendo. That's why, we talk about these end seasons, Arrivals and Lost and Seraph, and what those mean for what comes after. But even you look back to last year, Season of the Haunted was so important to set up. We had to have the events of Haunted, and specifically with Callus and Keitel, to set up what we do here. I just wish that, the final product had reflected that more, but Defiance is already starting this is us going on the warpath. This is us kind of doing things independent of the Vanguard because they're not doing anything anyways. This is us striking out with Mara and with, non-light bearers to all come together as this army. Keitel is helping out on Neomuna. It falls to Mithrax and Mara to help out on Earth. And I think these are so important storylines to do. You cannot service all these characters and storylines in one DLC. This is the stuff I'm okay with being expanded upon, but things that they have promised, like the nature of the Veil and the Witness's backstory, I am okay with being supplementary quests if they are free to people who own the base DLC. That is fine with me.
I feel like I'll give a short answer. I'm fine with them putting narrative story content that moves the DLC kind of topics forward in seasons, as long as I don't have to think about it. I just want to see the story unfold. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to feel left. I don't want to feel like there's a gap or a loss in some of the information. So I'm okay with it as long as it all just flows very well together. Yeah. And so far, I mean, we'll see. It's still early, but we'll see.
Yeah. This is going to be something different that they haven't done before. So the closest we got was the little Strand quest or Stasis quest that we got. But even that was just Anna and Elsie's relationship in the Dark Future lore book, which the community seems to largely hate anyways. Zao writes in, not sure if this has been asked before, but do you have any meaning behind your online gamer tag?
I don't.
I don't either.
I needed to come up with something really quickly whenever I was starting my sort of streamer career. But my previous gamer tag it had like an inside joke with one of my roommates at the time, but this one really doesn't have one now, unfortunately.
No, mine doesn't either. Mine's just been around forever, and at this point, I need to change it. I've changed my Bungie name. I need to change my actual like Xbox gamer tag. Don't really have a meaning behind it anymore. I loved Halo, so I had to work 117 in there somewhere. And when I was 13, I thought it was funny to, talk about cakes. So that's where all that came from. Nothing really enlightening. Zhao also asked a non-Destiny related question. What are 3 of your favorite types of chips?
I feel like we could have a whole episode on this.
I feel like we could too. I'll rapid answer. Garden salsa sun chips, baked barbecue lays, and I'm gonna go. It's not a chip per se. I am going to go tavern style pretzels.
You see, I don't know what tavern style pretzels are.
They're like the thicker pretzels. They're probably like sourdough in a lot of places.
Are they sticks or are they the
No, they're the thick rounds. The thick rounds.
Okay. All right,
I love those things.
In order, lowest to highest. I like just a really good in-house made tortilla chip.
Yep.
You got to have a good dip with it. Sour cream and onion. Ruffles, not Lay's.
Yep.
And number 1, spicy sweet chili Doritos.
I have never been able to like Doritos in my life. Doritos actually, like the smell of them actually bothers me.
Have you ever had spicy sweet chili though?
No, because the smell of any Dorito has literally made me want to vomit.
I mean, it smells like every other chip. Why does that?
Nope. I think it's the corn chip of it all. I don't know. But specifically Doritos and, what's the other thing? Bugles. Bugles make me sick to my stomach the second I start. Chelsea loves Bugles, and I won't let her have them in the house. I told her she has to eat them at work or in her car because literally she thought I was joking. She brought them into the apartment, opened them up, and I immediately went to the bathroom and started throwing up for the next 20 minutes.
The thing about Bugles, and it's probably the same for a lot of chips, they just look like they were a paste at one point. Like, in the way that they sort of disintegrate in your mouth.
I tried eating Bugles once as a child. It made me sick, and the smell has made me sick ever since.
They are fun to put on your fingers, though. I will say that.
She also tried doing that, and that made me go back to the bathroom. So Bugles are banned in my home. And then TJ has one final question. Am I able to farm Trials Ingrams from losing, or do I have to win? I only need 6 for the Warlock chest and helmet, but I don't want to try my ass off for 1 win. You can, in fact, lose your way to them, but you're going to have to win some rounds in order to do that. And it's going to be a long, painful process. You are better off just winning some rounds. You will get there eventually.
Just get good, TJ, right? Just get good.
I won't go that far, but no, it is... You can get those 6 Ingrams pretty quickly. Those 6 Ingrams are very easy to get. You do have to get the multiplier going, though. So the more rounds...
For what it's worth, I will end up losing my way to all Engrams I get this season, I'm sure. So
yeah, you have to get some sort of rep going. I would recommend waiting for a double rep weekend and then going in and doing it just to make it faster on you. But you do need to win some matches. Or rounds. They don't have to be all in the same one. They stack up to 20, and on double XP, even losing, you're going to be leveling up quickly. That would be my suggestion. But yes, you do have to win at least a little bit to get those Trials Ingrams. I mean, it's basically endgame PvP for what it is. For better or worse. So you're going to have to try just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little. All right, nerd. We've got some Lore Corner to get to.
Yay, let's do it.
We got a little bit of lore. We got a little bit of lore behind Strand tonight. These are the Strand logs that you can get from, leveling up your Strand abilities and whatnot through your triumphs. Strand log 1. But there is no point in lingering on my restriction from frontline efforts. Rather, I am dedicating my efforts to the understanding of this peculiar force the Guardian has stumbled into. It is unknown to our local hosts, so they have been of limited help. Green energy returns few helpful results in accessible Vanguard databases. There are some limited notes on weapons of sorrow, of course, and Hive Magic have a distinct yellowish-green hue. The quality of the visible effect is different, as is naturally the effect. But all the same, it is not a power of the light. Their ghost was certain about that. To sum up what is known, the power manifests when a specific symbol set, green, thread or strings, knots. It is worth noting that there never seems to be a single thread, but rather a collection of them, whether in parallel or in a tangle. This power carries an impressive capacity for destruction, but causes a sort of rebound or exhaustion, the nature of which is not fully clear. It has not yet appeared lethal to the self, but it is being wielded by a guardian fully empowered. Lethality means little in that context if it does not strike the ghost as well, which this does not. The guardian is the only one who has wielded this power to date. One sample is insufficient to draw full conclusions about the capacity required in a wielder. We certainly know by now that no existing power of light is required to use a power of darkness, only willingness to participate in the required rituals. The Guardian reported a sense of connection, a perception of the greater whole. I include this as relevant, more likely related to the concept of multiple strings. We do not yet know enough. The enemies here on Neptune have put significant effort into inhibiting known paracausal powers. This new one may be precisely what is needed to gain an upper hand and keep it. Something uncontrolled and unknown, the nature of which is not fully understood, is unwise to wield indiscriminately. I could return to some place the source of this energy has been reported and seek to touch it myself, but I hesitate. I do not know why. Practical study via the Guardian first. On ontological and paracausal study once the current trouble has been dealt with. So this is musings from Osiris. Just basically kind of expressing concern for us. But he is totally willing to use us as a guinea pig. Notice he is hesitant to go try and use it himself. But he's like, you got a ghost, you're fine. This shows that, like, for the first time, he's actually, like, a little afraid because he doesn't have Sagira there. We see it in the campaign and in the post campaign when they put Sagira's shell in the Hall of Heroes. But this kind of drives that home a little bit, I think. Like, that's probably the thing I draw from this the most. But also that, like, this is like an in-game wink-wink to, yeah, this was definitely supposed to be in last expansion, but we decided to hold it for better or worse. It was definitely for better, by the way. Strand Log 2. We're calling this power Strand. The threads of the world as it is woven, if the conscious universe could be considered to be a tapestry. Further analysis and data have suggested the wielder of Strand begins to see, simply put, connections between allies and enemies. It is a force that is always present, but wells to the surface more strongly in certain locations. Perhaps places many people think about or where many beings have passed by. We should analyze those sources in concert with the Cloud Strider. They may be able to provide more useful locational context. The true power of Strand lies not in the fact of the connection alone, but in the way such a power allows the manipulation of those connections, to make them something physical and help pull on it, or break it, or tie it into a knot, or unravel it entirely. Strand is not without danger, although that should not be unusual to the Guardian. Those who take up the banner of Stormcaller, for instance, have their own storied contention with the Storm, and the Void was unilaterally regarded as dangerous by the Vanguard for many years. Strand's danger comes from the very act of taking hold of those threads. Like many powers, the closer one comes to the source, the more likely the source may act on the wielder. This danger is no product of darkness, or rather, only in so much as wildfires are a product of light, a natural consequence. That aspect of darkness which revels in destruction, which encourages the easy entropy for the pursuit of power, is nowhere to be found here. It may not even be truly part of darkness. I have touched Strand myself now, carefully. I am too aware of mortality, but I must understand the power further if I am to hope to instruct the Guardian in turn. They acted as the lightning rod while I experimented, and the backlash clung to them instead. What a strange feeling, to be so aware of one's size in the spectrum of existence. It is the natural instinct to try and steer that, to take any control at all, no matter how much. Whatever can be done to feel as though you are not wholly adrift, lost in something huge and all-encompassing. But precisely at the moment one tries to grasp for control, the weave becomes a devouring snarl. So I don't know if there's necessarily a ton of ruminations here that we hadn't really picked up on in the campaign. Kind of expands a little bit more of Osiris's crankiness, I think, and his, push towards you using it, so to speak, because the campaign definitely can feel like he's really shoving this on you, even though we clearly see him having the power after his little training montage with you. He clearly has it gathering around his gauntlets. And I almost wonder if, because he appoints himself as Neomuna's protector at the end of the campaign and at the end of the epilogue quest when he decides to return to the tower and to Saint, he says that he's going to keep a watchful eye over not just Neomuna, but over Nimbus. And I wonder if him using Strand will come into play as we go through the seasons. Similar to how we saw Elsie, Eris, and Drifter use Stasis in the awesome Beyond Light cutscene, and then they never touched it again.
Man, they really missed an opportunity with
God,
that cutscene.
do you remember how cool that scene was when we saw it for the first time? We were like, oh my God. And then nothing.
Two reflections on what you were just reading. One, your tone of voice was completely wrong. You needed to shout it at us the entire time.
You have to master Strand, Guardian.
There we go.
Running out of time.
Way more accurate. And two, the thing I was just kind of thinking about the training montage. You know what that training montage really needed? It needed some Stan Bush.
I fucking hate you.
You got the Strand.
You're done. You're done.
You got the power.
Yeah. We're done. We're done.
They all jump and put their arms in the sky. Yeah. Freeze frame, and that's the end.
I quit. I hate.
Close the podcast right there. That's the end.
Kaido is just staring at you from just barely inside the frame.
I hate humans.
Pretty much. I should have let them die. With that, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. This episode's gone on long enough. I want to thank everybody for listening to Tower Casuals tonight. And if you're not already there, come join the Discord. We've got a lot of shit going on. Lots of good shit. We got we've got lots of raid signups. We got some PvP signups going, dungeons, people teaching raids.
I think 3 different raid runs scheduled for this week. We've got an Among Us night scheduled. Lots of stuff. Come join.
Yeah, lots of stuff. Come join. Nerd's been doing a great job at making our Discord an awesome space for everybody to come in, hang out, and have a good time.
You know what would really be awesome, Josh?
What?
If you could come join the legit Riven run that we have set up for the 30th.
I can't. That's a Thursday.
We could do it on stream.
No, I'm good.
Or on you could record the podcast while we're doing legit Riven.
I'm good.
Someday.
Nerd, do you have any self-promotion?
No. Come to the Discord, say hi, come play the game. That's it.
Come join the Tower Casuals Discord and harass Nerd. Ronnie does it every day. It's great. You can find me on Twitter and in the Discord at Josh_Finn 2 N's. I'm probably just going to be depressed and down in the dumps about Texas weather and about the state of the Mavericks. But
hey, Corey, if you're listening to this, the Browns are horrible.
The Browns are, in fact, horrible. And you lost Jacoby Brissett, which is the one respectable quarterback you had on your roster. But I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of Tower Casuals, and we will see you Starside. Thank you, Guardians.
Bye.